has to be said, since the last international break, it's been quite stressful for South Africa. What looked like a plain sailing campaign with Nigeria struggling to mount a real challenge. South Africa conceded a goal scored by a hand from Calvin Bassey, the hand of Lagos as we've been calling it on here, which they must feel very hard done by and very aggrieved about. And then the news that the Tupoho Mokoena situation gets resolved with a negative outcome, although the SAFA have appealed that. I'm not sure what the grounds of the appeal are. But South Africa lose 3 points, and all of a sudden they find themselves in second place. But I think it's very much still in the hands of South Africa, and I do think Bafana will end up topping this group and sealing their place at FIFA World Cup 2026, albeit probably a lot less comfortable as they thought it was going to be. So the situation is Benin 14, South Africa 14, Rwanda 11, Nigeria 11, Lesotho on 9, and Zimbabwe on 4. And it's Zimbabwe who in fact are the next opponents of South Africa, and Zimbabwe are out. They've got nothing to play for. They're even letting South Africa play the game at home, even though it's an away fixture, which is very nice of them indeed to do so. Not far to travel, of course, either way. And South Africa were needing to be on their best for this one, because they've got to win both games. They've got to get to 20 points, because I think 20 points will be enough to seal the place. They're also probably going to need Nigeria to beat Benin in matchday 10 when South Africa have their last game as well against the Rwandans. But in terms of this game, Hugo Broos has picked his squad, and Hugo Broos is not a fan of the Chiefs, is he? Because he's not picked a single player from the Chiefs. I mean, none. No one. You've got Marley Kozer's in there. I don't think he's been picked before. Wondering if he'll go with Kozer and Mbakazi at the back. Mbakazi, what a talent. Surely one of the best centre-backs in the making there in Africa. Would he play Mbakazi with Kozer? I'm not sure, but it's a good list. Obviously, Ronwen Williams in goal. Still, for me, the best keeper in Africa. Better than Bonu, better than El Shenawi, better than Lucas Zidane, better than any of these guys, better than Mendy. He is an unbelievable shot stopper in there. Defensively very sound, especially when you've got a lot of the players involved from Sundowns. Seemingly, Hugo Broos likes players at Sundowns and players from Pirates, but players from Chiefs, he's got absolutely no interest in them whatsoever. And then we know how good that attack is with the likes of Apollos and Lyle Foster and these sorts of guys. So there's some real firepower in that South African team. The good news is Zimbabwe have nothing to play for, and of course Zimbabwe have a couple of players as well, don't they, that play in South Africa. The likes of Divine Lunga will be involved as well. Biliat is a talent, and the South Africans will know all about Biliat and what he does. The man who seemingly retired 3 times from Zimbabwean football as well. So the game's on Friday, and I think South Africa, the fact that they're playing at home, even though it's an away game, and then they then host the final game, they'll be feeling confident. Benin are the closest challengers really, because Benin are top and level on points with them, but Benin have the 2 away games. They obviously go to Nigeria on matchday 10 and they go to Rwanda on matchday 9, so Benin are not going to pick up 2 wins. I think South Africa could quite easily pick up 2 victories. I think even if Bafana drew 1 and won 1, and 18 points is what they finished on, it might well be enough, because Benin are the only team that can really topple them. Because if South Africa get to 18 with a win and a draw, Nigeria can only get to 17 even if they win both. So that first spot is looking very much still in South Africa's hands, albeit not as comfortable as it once was just a few weeks ago. But I think they're very deserving of their place. I think Hugo Broos has built on the Africa Cup of Nations campaign when they came third, and really no one outside of South Africa thought they could get third in that AFCON in Ivory Coast, be included. But I think now, in the upcoming AFCON that South Africa have, they'll be taken a lot more seriously. Maybe teams might find them out a little bit, and I do think South Africa's AFCON group, as we'll talk about closer to the time, is actually really rather difficult. It'd be difficult for any team in there. So they've got to be on their A game, but certainly one of the dark horses of Africa at the moment. I think South Africa will beat Zimbabwe 2-0. I watched the game against Nigeria. The first half they blitzed them, and then the handball goal went in, and then it kind of was a lot of physicality and yellow cards and fighting. The performance South Africa did against Lesotho, the win that did count, was very impressive, a routine win. So Rwanda, by the time they get to that game as well in the matchday 10 with South Africa, when they go there, might not have too much to play for. But I think the good news for the South Africans is Zimbabwe don't really have anything to play for. Rivalries aside, are Zimbabwe really going to try and go to South African turf and be the party poopers? I can't see that happening. I can see Lyle Foster getting a couple of goals. I know Burnley haven't been great in terms of where they are in the table. You know, Lifefoss has been a really good player in the Premier League this season. He's been unlucky. He's had a couple of goals disallowed as well. Very narrow offside decisions, narrow VAR decisions. He's a bagsman. He's a top-class forward. So I don't think there's too much to worry. I think Zimbabwe with 4 points from 8 games have really stunk the place out. They should not be 5 points behind Lesotho. They should not be bottom of the table with the squad they've got. They've got players all across the UK, across Africa. They've got to be doing better than that. They've got to be performing much better next time the AFCON comes around. So I think South Africa are in good hands, and I think they'll be okay against Zimbabwe. They're going to want other teams to drop points. They're going to want Benin not to win. They're going to want Nigeria not to stop Benin winning the last game. But I think they'll be plain sailing in the end. No more hiccups, no more administrative errors, please, South Africa and the SAFA. So what are your predictions for this one? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.